He is not one of us. Jay don't know that song. He is not one of us, not our kind. Someone once lied to us. Now we're not so. You've never heard that song?
What's going on?
No, but we knew he would do what he's done. Bum 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 bum. Really? Okay, so maybe a lot of y'all actually do not know that song, but that is from The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, after they find out that Kovu possibly...
Time out. The Lion King 2 is not a classic.
It is a classic. If you're a true... Yes. If you're a true Lion King fan, then you know that Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, was just as... The music was phenomenal. Was just as good. Yes, it is. Don't believe him. Don't listen to him. Lion King 2, Simba's Pride is not as... It's not as good. It'll never be as good as the original Lion King. But it was good and the music was phenomenal. And that is the scene...
in the comments.
And that's the scene where Kovu was thought to betray them because apparently like Scar named him the heir to his dynasty, whatever. Really good song. I will actually put the link to the song down below in the description box, and if you ever have watched the video, you can relate to that. As you guys can probably notice, I didn't post a video on Wednesday or Friday. I took a little bit of a break. Things got kind of like weird at work. So I was just trying to come home and relax. Tomorrow is the first day of school for me, but one of my classes actually doesn't look that bad. Like I'm feeling kind of confident about that one already. And then I'm taking an English class, so I'll be reading for that class. So I don't know if this semester is actually going to be as bad as I thought it was. I think I'm just kind of like trying to psych myself out because it's the last semester. But other than that, I am here to do my weekly wrap up. It's not really a wrap up because I actually didn't finish anything this week, but I made some good progress in two things that I have been currently reading. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce those two things. So the first thing that I am still currently reading that I carried over from last week when I did my weekly wrap up is The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. This is such a phenomenal book. I'm really enjoying it, but it is tedious because it's a lot of history, it's a lot of names, and it's a lot of keeping up with who is related to who marries who gets rid of who has children with who, and it has become easier for me because I actually have started doing like background research as I've been reading this book. So now I understand exactly who Jaquetta is in terms of English monarchy. She is the grandmother of Elizabeth of York, who married King Henry VII, who is the father of King Henry VIII. So that's how this is all, I guess, done. So she is technically the maternal great grandmother of King Henry VIII. So that's how she falls into this whole thing. But this is about the time that the Tudors, the Tudors were in the picture, but not really. This is more of a description of how the House of York and the House of Lancaster or Lancaster, however the pronunciation is, when they start to kind of battle each other. And they are related, they're cousins. So that's why it is called the Cousins' War. They are somehow interwoven into each other. But some things go on with King Henry VI, who is a very, very, very weak king and is easily influenced by his French queen, Margaret. I believe her name is Margaret, and I will double check that because there are a lot of people in this book named Elizabeth, and a lot of people named John, and a lot of people named Henry and Catherine. But she was Margaret of Anjou, and she was very young when she married King Henry VI. She was probably only about 15, and she started to depend a lot upon King Henry VI's advisors, who were kind of out for their own interest and knew that King Henry VI was more interested in religion than being a king. So you have a weak monarch basically ruling England at the time the civilians of England were just not happy with what was going on. They were upset that the aspects or the territory that they ruled in France had been taken away, meaning that innocent people died for no reason. So it's a lot of conflict going on right now. And I'm at the part where Jaquetta is really kind of training, I don't want to say training, but she's working with her oldest daughter. Jaquetta has 14 children by the time it's all said and done. Don't know how she did it. 14 kids. Only one of them died in infancy, and the rest of them go on to make really, really great marriages or associated with really, really great people. But her eldest, who is Elizabeth, ends up marrying a man by the name of John Grey, who is related to Jane Grey, which you guys probably have heard of from My Lady Jane, which that's what a lot of people get their information from. But there is a historical woman called Jane Grey who ruled for 9 days, and she is somehow related to the John Grey that Jaquetta's oldest daughter marries, but he ends up dying in battle, I believe. So Elizabeth ends up marrying King or Edward VI, who is king. So Jaquetta's daughter eventually becomes queen. And I'm sure we don't find that out till later, but I just know that from a historical standpoint. But it is really, really good. The writing is a bit slow in some paces, but I'm making it through it. There are some magical elements to it that are not realistic. This is kind of Philippa adding her own twist to it. And she said that plenty of times, that it is a work of fiction, so she's going to add some fantastical elements. So there are fantastical elements based on the fact that Jaquetta at one point in history was accused of witchcraft. And in the book, she is actually capable of foresight, and she can hear a lady singing when people around her are dying. So it's a very, very interesting. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm 211 pages in. It's a little over 400. It's about 431. So I'm about halfway through the book, and hopefully I'll be finishing this one up sometime this week. The next thing that I'm currently reading is Fables Volume 3, Storybook Love. This picks up after the events of Animal Farm, where Rose Red and Snow White had to settle a situation that happened at the farm in upstate New York. And this is a follow-up where we get a brief issue related to Jack of Fables and how he handled himself during the Civil War and how he tried to make a fortune for himself during the Civil War, which is absolutely hilarious. And then we are faced with a new character who is a journalist who is convinced that the fables are actually vampires, and he's out to expose all of them. So that's where I'm at right now. I do remember how this ends, but like I said, I love this series, one of my favorite comic book series of all times. I'm about 51 pages in, and this is one of the chunkier ones of the series. I think this one is almost close to 200 pages long, but it's still a quick read, and I love it. If you haven't read Fables, like I always say, make sure that you get an opportunity to pick it up when you can. So for the upcoming week, I plan on reading a couple things. The first thing that I plan on reading is One Piece Romance Dawn by Ichiro Oda. This is one that I am buddy reading with Nisha, and I am just doing an awful job at buddy reading. I still need to read this. I do have my copy of Game of Thrones and Elantris coming in tomorrow, so those are two that I also need to start probably sometime this week. But with Game of Thrones, I could just read as much as I can read before the month is over with, because we're not finishing that one up until next month. But with Elantris, I definitely need to get through that one this month, because we are going to continue to be moving through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere universe rather quickly. So those are probably going to be the three things that I focus on, besides thinking about finishing Lady of the Rivers and finishing Fables. So that's a lot for me to read, especially since I have school starting, but I spend most of my time reading. You can ask Jay. Like, that's all I do.
I get no time.
That's a lie. He does get time. Like, he's lying. He's definitely lying. But I don't like watch TV as much, so usually like if Jay's at work at night, or if he's sleeping, or if we're just kind of chilling, then I probably do have a book in my hand. Alright y'all, so that is it. That is all for my weekly wrap up and the intern monologue between myself and my boyfriend. This is exactly how we operate on a minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day basis. Like, this is how we are at all times. So Yeah, and the review that we're supposed to be doing is coming soon. Whenever Jay decides to get his shit together, then we'll do the review because I'm tired of like postponing this review because of him. So, and he just had the nerve to ask me when the 3rd book for the Cartel series was coming in. So I should hold it hostage until he does a review. That's what I should do. He doesn't get to touch the damn book until we sit down and do this book review. Alright y'all, let me know in the comments below what you read this week. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing more content from me, click the subscribe button. And if you're interested in following me on social media, all of my links will be down below in the description box. And as always, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and go Saints.